Question of the day. What is your favorite walk past the table game and go, what is that? Now that's a weird question, I'm aware, but a game that when people walk past your table, maybe you're at a game night, maybe you're at a convention or something like that, and they look down, they're chatting with their friends, they look down at your game and go, wait a minute, I gotta know what that is. What is your favorite game like that? There are so many that come to mind. When it comes to Euros, I think of a game like Dinogenics where people go, what is that? That looks like Jurassic Park. I think of a game like Batman, right? Any of the Simon games like Ankh, all that stuff. Because today we're talking about a game that is a tile placement game, essentially. This could be done with cardboard and stuff. But yet, it's a game that people walk by and go, whoa, I want that. What is that? I want to play that. Which leads us into Foundations of Rome. This is a game by Emerson Matsuuchi. I love Emerson as a designer, so just know that up front. But know that I'm going to review this just like I would any other game. This is a beautiful game. I'm telling you that in the intro, but you know that already. You've walked past the table. You've seen this game already. So let's talk about Foundations of Rome, what it does, how it plays, how it's different than other tile placement games. Then we'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. Final thoughts. All right, this is Foundations of Rome set up. We're just talking base game right now. We are going to talk about monuments, objectives, player powers, all that sort of stuff. And I'll touch on the other two ones, but there's one that's a cooperative expansion, and one allows you to bid and bribe and pay people to get their spots. Now, this is the grid. You will play J10 to A1 for all 5 players, and then 4, 3, 2. It will be, and there's actually a map on the back, but it shows which areas to play in, and you will include the cards of that color. So for us, I've got all of them in here except the J ones. We won't be playing with J, which means that when any card says edge of the board, in our case, it means the purple. So F8 corresponds to this space here on the board. You'll start with a hand of 6 of these. There are drafting variants. You'll start with a hand of 6 of these. You'll then take from your tray. Now here's what I love. Now, I don't know all the versions of the game. I just know that the version I have, this tray, you don't even have to take your stuff out of it. You just hand this to someone straight out of the box and it's ready to play. And here's what's beautiful about this. So you get your player board. There are 3 different types of buildings on it. Commercial, government, I can't remember the names of them, but anyway, there's 3 different types. They correspond to 3 different things. Population, which is tracked over here. This is your money, your commerce, and then your civic buildings, that's the one, are right here. These are going to give you points based on what's adjacent to them. So that's what these are here. Now, you're going to put these tokens out there onto the spaces that you have the deeds from. These smaller tokens are going to be how you mark monuments, and we'll show you the monuments in a minute because they are something to behold. Here's what I love about these player boards. Now, yes, it does say this on here. This gives you 6 population, which you would get there. And let's just say I had placed this on the board here. Well, instead of mid-game having to go, oh, wait a minute, how much population should I have? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I think I have 8. You don't have to do that. You can look down and anything missing from your board is out on the table, and anything missing shows what you then have. So for commerce, it's the same thing. You can quickly see how much money you would get during the income phase or when you take the income as an action. So anything missing, you're going to have out there on the board, you're going to know it, which is pretty great. Same thing here. These are the only ones you have to look at because they're based on adjacency. So these are the different types of buildings. They give you population, they give you money, they give you points. The way the game is played, you have 3 actions that you can do on your turn. First thing you can do is buy a deed. Now you're going to buy them up here based on kind of like, what's that game called? Spice Road, Century Spice Road, right? They're cheaper on the left side, they're more expensive on the right. They will flow in right to left from era 1, era 2, era 3. You'll do an intermediate scoring after the 3 eras. Here it's 2, there it's 10. Now, once you buy a deed, you can put one of your deed markers out there. If you don't have any more deed markers in your tray, you can't put deed markers out there. These civic buildings, I should mention, score no matter who's next to them. So if I'm here and someone else, for instance, this is for building around it, someone else has a building around it, I would still get to score that for that. So that's buying a deed. Number 2 is you can take income. You can take 5 income plus whatever you have out here from your civic buildings. Again, it's easier because you can just look straight at your cards. The last thing you can do is construct a building. Now this will happen, let's just say we have these sitting out here on our deeds. So we have G1, F1, and H1. So now we can look at our map here, or our tray, and see which one of these is a 3-space thing. We could put this here, basically put this in, slide it in, and take these and put them back, meaning we now have 3 more to use. Or you could do this. You could do your 2 one and keep that one there. Or let's say that we have this already out there, and then later we get this at H1. You could then, or here we'll do it at G2 for that matter. You could then upgrade a building, and you can change it for anything of the same size or more. So instead of doing this, because we own this, we could do that. If it ever changes the shape, but you have something here, for instance, like this, we're going to change this to a 3, but a different shape. So let's say we're doing this now. You would put the 3 down here, and then you would still own F1. So that's kind of how you manipulate the board and show what you own. So you're going to do this, and you're going to score at the end of those 3 eras. And it's pretty simple scoring. You're going to score based on your civic buildings. You're also going to score your population. The population is a pretty interesting track. So as you track it over here on the board, in era 1, the person who's highest on the population track gets 4 points. Then I think it's 7, and then it's 10. Then you score your position. So 10 plus 4 for the first place. Second place, if they're at a 7, they score for the person above them. So if they're at 7, they would still score 10 points. The person behind them, let's say they're 5, would score 7 points, and then the person behind them would score 5 points, and so on. It's really kind of convoluted at first, but it makes sense once you start going. People will ask you every time, what do I do again? And what do I do again? And that's fine. Your commercial buildings are going to give you points based on the ones that allow points, as well as you're going to gain income for them during that time as well. Then you're going to check your governmental buildings and see if you gain any points from these. The game is played until all 3 eras are over. The person with the most points wins the game. Now, let's talk some variants. The first and easiest variant is the monuments. Basically, you're going to set some shared buildings over to the side, and these all do certain things. And what's great, in the instructions, there's an example of how to place these back into this tray because it matters for the topper. Also, you have a little space here to put your markers to show that is your monument. Now, I want to show you the monuments because they are the best looking miniatures buildings I've ever seen in the game. Just incredible pieces. This is the Forge of Vulcan, or the Temple of Vulcan, I guess. Artemis, or Ares? No, Mercury. No, shoot, I don't know. Anyway, that's her. Yeah, Mercury. Artemis is Mercury, I think. Jupiter. These look amazing, or that might be Poseidon, who knows. Anyway, the point is, these look absolutely stunning. The Coliseum is here. The monuments are just shared buildings that anyone can build based on meeting their prerequisites. And the prerequisites are listed here, but you won't play with all of them. You're going to have a certain amount per player count. Temple of Venus. You must own commercial buildings collectively worth at least 4 coins. That's pretty easy to do. They're all fairly easy to do, but they all give you some really cool bonuses, as well as they just look amazing. So that's the easiest of them. Second, you have some personal player powers. These are going to let you have some powers that will let you do things to give you either a bonus or points or a better action. Then lastly, you have the objective cards here. This is the last one we're going to really touch on. They're all worth 8. You're going to have private objectives as well as public objectives. Fewest size 4 buildings. So if you don't have any built, you're the fewest. Fewest number of buildings built. Largest contiguous area of size 1 and 2 buildings built. You'll score your private objectives, and then everybody will score the public objectives. This will shift the scores a good bit. We're going to talk about this in the final thoughts. But that is how you play Foundations of Rome. Foundations of Rome. First and foremost, let's get it out of the way. The game is incredible looking. It's the best looking game in years. Now, I know, I hear you already, but it's overproduced. Trust me, I get that. I get that you're saying it's overproduced, but hear me out for just a second. If every game was like this, you might say, okay, I don't know that we need to do this anymore. But what if you had a game, again, when you sit down to a steak and it's grilled with perfect grill marks, it's got excellent looking, cross hatches on it from the grill, you want to taste that steak, regardless of how it's made, regardless of what kind of cut of beef it is. The look, seeing with your eyes, is so important. So having a game that is in the genre of a very simple genre of tile placement look incredible like this, to me, is a strength. Now again, if everything did this, you'd be like, okay, I don't want another steak, I want something else. But because this game does it and does it so well, people will literally walk past the table and go, what in the world is that? And I mean that because the miniatures in this game, the little buildings, are so good. Every single one of them looks that good. Now the monuments is when it really excels, but even without the sun drop, now some of you saw me playing, I have the sun drop on there. Even if you don't have that, it still looks incredible. And here's a quick fix. Go to your hobby town, your hobby world, go to Amazon, order Nuln Oil or Agrax Earth Shade, and take a brush, dip it in there, wipe it across your miniatures, and wipe off the excess. Yours will look that good in 30 minutes tops. So let's get that out of the way first of all. The game looks amazing. It's supposed to look amazing. It's amazing looking for a reason, not just willy-nilly, oh, we can do it. I'm not an apologist. I'm not doing that because I'm about to ding it for something here in a minute. But just know, I think this game should look this good because Rome, obviously, historically, was beautiful. And seeing it in this game like this, it's really well done. Now, let's talk about art direction, how the game plays. I think it's so smart that when you pick up something off your board, you can look down at your board and go, oh, I get this much money. I have this much population. Having that so instantly readable, that is a win for me. Anytime I can instantly find out the information that I need, that is huge. And so having that on here, great job, Emerson. Now, let's talk about the game itself. It is simple. It's a simple game in which you're literally placing a building out there or putting a deed out there. Now, I like that for what it is. Now, it's tricky because it's not the hardest thing to teach, but it's hard to master, especially putting those civic buildings where they should go, right? Especially trying to get the deeds that you need. When somebody else buys it, you're like, oh my gosh, I really just need that. Please just give me that deed. That's where the expansion comes in of having the ability to bribe that person. Now, I'm gonna talk about the one thing I absolutely do not like about this game, and it's a variant so you don't have to play it, which is beautiful. To me, I absolutely do not like the objectives variant. Sounds crazy, right? Because it's a way to get points, 8 points, secret objectives, all that. I don't mind playing with just secret objectives. I don't like the public objectives because when we play, typically what happens is everybody's laser focused on their strategy, figuring out what they need to do, and then suddenly, at the end of the game, when you're scoring points, dumb luck wins the game. Now, what I mean by that is people go, oh, well, I guess I score that. Oh, yeah, I get that one too. And so anybody who's taken the time to play their game loses out on the strategy because somebody else just accidentally lucked into it. Now, I can hear you. The interlocutor says, well, wait a minute, why shouldn't everybody just play towards those objectives? Because in a 4-person game, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 plus your own objective on there. It's too much to try to play to all these objectives. Now, yes, you could play to 1 or 2, but again, you're still going to have the issue where someone accidentally gets 16 points on top of you and beats you when you had them beat by 14 points, right? So that's one I'm going to look at with a really side eye from now on, is the objectives. I'm going to play it several more times like that, but I don't like it. It's okay because it's not hard to cut out the game. I do like all the other objectives. I'm always going to play with monuments, always going to play with the other ones. So Foundations of Rome is an amazing looking game. It's a beautiful game, first of all, as we talked about. It's a fun game. I enjoy the heck out of how this game plays. Now, hear me out. Part of that might be because of how it looks. I remember not liking New York 1901 because it's like, oh, we're just placing these little cardboard things out there. This elevates the system and the idea of placing tokens, claiming land, and then placing something down so much. So, if you hadn't played it yet, definitely go get it. Go play it. Foundations of Rome is a win. Yes, it's expensive, but it's beautiful. It's a game that you're going to cherish because of how it works, because of what it looks like. Because when people come over, they go, hey, what's that one with the buildings again? Love this game. Think it's great. Don't like the objectives variant, and that's about it. So I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. Some of you have already come by the booth at Gen Con because as you're watching this, I'm shaking your hand at Gen Con. So until next time, we'll see you.